So just how significant is Juan Carlos's brief return to Spain, and how do Spaniards view him today? Well, let's ask Dr. Carlos Conde Solares. He's a lecturer in Hispanic Studies at Northumbria University, and he's on the line right now. Thank you very much for speaking to us on the programme. Walk us through why it is that the former Spanish king is now able to return.
Many thanks. Well, yes, indeed, it had always been Juan Carlos's desire to be able to return to Spain in order, to fulfill his private commitments with his family, with his friends, and so on. Of course, this is something that comes on the back of the judicial troubles that your report has mentioned. And it has, of course, the potential to cause some discomfort for his son at the end of the day, for Philip VI, for the king, because the figure, unfortunately, of Juan Carlos has become a controversial one because of the affairs that you have described. So there will be some scrutiny regarding who he's meeting, regarding what he's doing, regarding also the meeting that he will have for the first time in over 2 years with his son, with the King Philip VI. But I expect this to blow over pretty soon.
There were 3 investigations against the former king in Spain that were finally closed at the end of March this year. Does that mean Juan Carlos has now been cleared of any financial impropriety?
He has no open cases left in Spain, which is the main reason why. This is what has changed compared with say last month or last year. He no longer has any judicial cases open against him in Spain. As you mentioned before, he has a potentially even more embarrassing one open in London regarding his former friend, lover, Corina, but he doesn't have any judicial cases open in Spain, and for that reason, he thought that this was the moment really for him to return as a private citizen. Although, as we know, as a former head of state, as someone who has been king of Spain for 4 decades, there is no such thing as a private life, clearly.
And if he were to return as a private citizen, would the Spanish public approve of that?
I think that considering everything that is going on in the world and in Spain at the moment, this is not really high up in the list of priorities of the Spanish public in general. That is, the press will have, the press and the populist politicians will have a field day with it. But I don't think that Spanish people will really worry about this to any significant extent. I think that Spanish people have sort of compartmentalized really what Juan Carlos has meant for the country. As a king, I think it's very clear that there are several stages to his very long tenure, to his very long reign. One, the most important, the one that is going to be historically remembered, of course, is his role during the exemplary transition to democracy and the role that he played during those early years, the 1970s, the 1980s. There is, of course, a second part to his tenure, to his reign, in which this fairly ambiguous role that he played quite often as an intermediary for Spanish businesses abroad, he didn't quite, I think, move on with the times when it comes to the degree of exemplarity that is required from public office, especially after the financial crisis of 2008, which, as you know, affected Spain very gravely. And I think that Juan Carlos then started to engage in behaviors, behaviors that perhaps to him had been normal before, which weren't normal or acceptable anymore. People, I think, will consider him in both of those lights. As a king who was instrumental in bringing democracy to Spain, thanks to his charisma and thanks to his commitment to democratic values, but also as someone who, at some point during his very long reign, sort of lost sight of what was acceptable and what wasn't.
Dr. Carlos Conde Solares talking to us there from the University of Northumbria in the UK. Thanks very much.